zip it, sister? Okay, you just talk, okay?
The stars are very hot when you touch them. No one can ever go up in the sky because they can't fly. But birds can go up in the sky because they can fly. Everyone knows. Actually, my favorite holiday is Christmas. And because I love Christmas so much, and because everyone got the Christmas spirit so much. And why is that? Because Christmas has Jesus in it.
At age 4, I answered most questions with the same tone. I somehow had complete confidence in everything I said, and the answer to every question. I think I embodied authority back then because I thought I was surrounded by it. Adults couldn't be wrong. I've lost a lot of confidence since then, or perhaps just gained some doubt. We're kind of released from childhood in this strange series of breaches of authority. It's a painful process because we crave order and have to watch it dissipate before us. We realize that our parents and other adults don't actually know everything. Smaller things reveal to us how uncertain they really are. I think that's what losing one's innocence really means. It's simply a realization of disorder. There are only a few voices in my life that have not become less authoritative since early childhood. One of them is my grandmother, who I call Yaya. She'll be 90 next year. Her favorite verb is should because, in her life, there's a distinct way that everything should be done. She proceeds with absolute certainty. When I tell people that my Yaya is one of the closest and dearest people to me, perhaps they expect that I have one of those young, hip grandmothers. You know, the ones who surprise you with crude jokes and give you too much sugar. I've seen them in sitcoms, but that's not the one I have. I have a grandmother of the old world, one who is slow to change, principled, and completely predictable. She sent me a care package at college last year. The box contained a big bag of raw, unsalted nuts and an article about brain health. In my Yaya's world, one must eat primarily vegetables. Kale is good, lentils are good, sugar is bad, inherently bad. She's a fantastic cook, and yet a vast majority of what this woman eats simply does not taste good. And, largely because she grew up during a war in Greece, in her kitchen, the most enormous transgression one can make is to waste even a bite of food. One will eat expired food if one has to. There are stringent and consistent rules in other parts of her house as well, not just the kitchen. The furniture has remained unmoved and unchanged for upwards of 50 years. In the living room, one must make their best effort to avoid certain chairs, especially if one is a child. They have a finite amount of fluffiness not to be squandered. When you enter the library, there is a prescribed though unspoken order of seating. The most important person in the room takes my late grandfather's chair. The next gets my Yaya's. The next takes the green chair in the corner, and everyone else can take the floor. The thing my Yaya is most certain about is that one should attend church. One should get up in the morning, do one's exercises, take one's pills, and take notes from one's Bible. Then, one must drive to church, taking Cranbrook Road because it's 4 minutes faster than the alternative. Upon arrival to church, one must light a candle and kiss the icons. Then, one must head to the 4th row of the church on the left side and sit in the center left of the pew. Order, I've found, isn't flashy or trendy in any way. Like my Yaya, it's slow to change and often ridiculously predictable, mundane even. So I guess it makes sense that our church would seem the most slow to change and consistent place in the world. It's been around 2,000 years, and the Orthodox Church has made very few modifications. I guess I can see a lot of things in myself that I've inherited from my Yaya. I'm quite stubborn to begin. I splash my face with cold water every morning because she taught me that such a practice is a non-negotiable. I also try to eat vegetables. But the most prominent of my inheritances is the most surprising to a lot of people, especially those my age: my commitment to and love of the Orthodox Church. I understand why young people tend to lose patience with it. The institution and tradition of the Church seems boring, dated, and disconnected from our current world. It takes a lot of effort to try to reconcile progressive values with something so rooted in the past. As a kid, I'd often stare up to the ceiling and wonder what I was doing there. I would sit and twiddle my thumbs and question what kind of value this ridiculously long, boring service had. A Sunday service takes 2 hours and is partially in a different language, so perhaps it was a natural reaction to have. But I'd still kick myself trying to pay better attention. There are times I still find myself doing that. Regardless, week after week, I continue to go to church, lighting candles and kissing icons, reading scripture. I continue to abstain from eating meat on Wednesdays and Fridays, as the Orthodox Church instructs. I do not go because it gives me some great and immediate pleasure. I go because it's a return to childhood in a lot of ways, a return to this fundamental belief in order. From that order comes this trust that something eternal exists in this fast-paced and ever-changing world. Order in disorder. The order I'm speaking of isn't just this nostalgia for childhood. In the Gospel according to John, Christ continually tells people, "I am not of this world." He says it again and again in different ways. And in a lot of ways, going to church is kind of like entering a different world. You're suddenly expected to do things that you're rarely otherwise told to do. Being enthusiastic and entertained give way to being slow and still. Doing what you want gives way to trying to do as you should. Being impulsive and judgmental give way to disciplining thoughts, teaching them to be kinder, more forgiving. It's kind of like eating your vegetables. What's really good for you doesn't seem altogether appealing, paradoxical even. To me, church is really beyond all of these political and social dictations we try to reduce it to. It's pretty simple, actually. It's about a relationship with this one person who came down and brought love and solace to the sick and suffering, the lonely and dejected. One could say that Christ brought order to disorder. These days, I'm in the thick of young adulthood, where nothing seems certain. The consistency and insistence of my Yaya is something that I find more sacred now than ever. For a long time, I used to wish that she was the type of grandmother that would feed me sugar until I was sick and let me put my feet on the couch. But her diligence in her ways reveals something timeless about her. I used to wish that church would also be different, something less old and slow and dated. I wanted something more trendy and comprehensible. I think I dreamt of a church that would entertain me into understanding God. I found that returning to a childlike innocence, finding order and trust in the world that we live in, is not the most straightforward of things. It comes slowly and in stillness. It dwells in boredom and in quiet, and in those times that we insist on making ourselves distinct from the madness that surrounds us. We find order in our lives to be reminded of our ability to will such order into being. We want to believe in it. And surrounded in the sound of chanting, the smell of incense, and the iconography of the Orthodox Church, I'm reminded to keep on doing just that.
Where does baby Jesus live?
Heaven.
Oh, and where do we get to see baby Jesus?
Right here.
Oh, is that baby Jesus right there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Beside your pillow, try to remember when life was so tender, when love was an ember above.
It's also the president election, meaning that you have to vote for your president, except for Daddy, he didn't decide yet. So,
and who's Mommy voting for?
George Bush.
And who is Lily voting for?
Evil. I want to vote for John Kerry because he has a better tie. So, and he's from where our cousins live. And Ricky James looks like him. So, I decided to vote for John Kerry.
White Horse is the eagle. Now we are looking up in the sky, and that eagle has come down to judge us, and we are mad So we say, Tsibi tsibi tonaito. Let's pick him. And you are picking the aito, the eagle. Tsibi tsibi tonaito, tonaito to stavrato. Pire papia to kodari. A duck found a weapon to kodari. Che varito da vadari. And she's spanking the horseman. Fairy tales don't make sense. You know, that's what the people said. Okay. Tsibi tsibi tonaito, tonaito to stavrato, pire papia to kodari.
And the song says that you have to go to here.